Check my employees' clockings at work? No problem. No problem at all. This happened a little while ago, but I still think about it sometimes. I was a supervisor of a small team, who were great at what they did. And one payday had 3 worried staff members thinking payroll had cocked up and given them too much money they hadn't. One of my guys came in 5 minutes late and got caught by one of the other managers, who told my boss, and it got round to me. I want you to check their clock-ins and clock-outs and let me know so we can dock them anytime. They weren't in on time. Now, I don't care. They were a great employee. Got a ton of work done and always stayed late if they needed to finish things off. Also, I don't want to even think about if that was legal or not. It didn't sit right with me. 2 things weren't in his favor right now. 1, he was being a tool, and 2, I'd already got another job lined up which he didn't know about. So I didn't care. What next? I did as I was told and I checked. Couple of minutes here or there. Nothing major. I then checked all of the extra time they worked since they'd started and added it all up. Made sure to take out anything they'd already claimed as overtime. Logged it in the system and approved and sent it over to finance myself. Then I checked my other guys' times as well and did the same thing. Turns out, my guys were damn helpful, and helped out other areas when they could. The overtime went over certain time limits and tipped over from 1.5 times pay to 2 times pay. It added up to a lot. I delayed it a couple of days to make sure it all went through and double-checked with finance to make sure all was good. Then I called a meeting with my boss to let him know everything and hand him a letter. He was not pleased. Worth it. This is my favorite kind of malicious compliance. The boss asks. The peon delivers. Woe be to the prideful leader. Good on you. You're a good supervisor. Similar story, but not enough to warrant its own post. My boss told me to remind everyone on my team that by company policy, all overtime must be approved by a manager, and then tell them not to clock in early or clock out late, in order to reduce the amount of overtime paid out. I reminded my boss that also according to policy all employees are allowed to clock in, out up to 15 minutes early, late. And one of my people would absolutely take every second of those 15 minutes. Probably tripling our OT payouts. This is my favorite kind of malicious compliance. Everybody who deserved to win wins and boss gets screwed. Well done. Micromanaging. The art of overanalyzing other people's productivity to hide one's own uselessness. I can't stand managers who think this way. So long as the work gets done. Who cares if someone was exactly on time? If someone's having a bad day and wants to confide in me about their dead relative, breakup, miscreant kid, etc. as to why they were slightly late, I'm happy to listen. But as long as it's reasonable, I'm not going to pressure them. If it's consistent lateness, I'll remind them of expected start times. If it's a one-off but something on the order of an hour, I'll ask if everything's alright. Otherwise, so long as they meet productivity expectations, I'm not going to be a clock-watching disciplinarian. I worked a job where we did not need to clock in. Every now and then, someone would take a day off, and we would cover the person. We worked it out amongst ourselves, and the work always got done. Management figured this out and told us that we had to clock in every day. But there was no need to clock out. I refused and said I'd be happy to clock in and out every day and that I expected to get paid for all the hours I was there. They dropped the idea quickly, and I never once clocked into that job. I hate so much that making the company pay the wages that was actually owed is somehow considered extraneous. Pissant boss wants to punish staff Found it goes both ways. My assistant came to me from retail and was shocked at the extent of my concern when she was late. Fell into that I wanted to be told. I wanted to know she was safe and not struck by a car. And finally that she would work to prevent it happening. Beyond that, I wasn't concerned. Given she was hourly, I felt that there really wasn't further punishment needed. No workie, no payee. She got paid when she arrived. She arrived early. She could start work and get paid early. My previous boss was like this. Didn't mind making me stay late to finish a ticket, but if I was late to work he would make me fill out a leave request for the minutes I was late coming in. One day he accused me of not doing any work around the office and tells me he is going to fire me for not working. We see his boss, who states very plainly that there is no documentation on my not working in. Suggested that I track my time over the next month. A month passes and my boss and I go to a meeting with his boss again. My boss is thinking I'm about to get fired. His boss is sweating bullets because I tracked over 17 hours of overtime in that month that the department couldn't afford to pay. I agreed not to submit the overtime on the condition that my boss dropped the idea that I wasn't doing my job. Best ending was this. His boss agrees and asks me to leave the office. An hour later, my boss walks into my office and apologized profusely about the way I was treated. He got his tail end chewed out for not only wasting my time and his boss's time, but also the possibility of opening the department up to a wage lawsuit. I had a boxmaker doing the work of 2 people making $16 an hour. He got fed up with it and asked to be paid $25 an hour. The boss declined and so he quit. Now we are paying 2 people to do his job. $16 an hour each, and that's apparently okay. Check their times. Wait, I didn't mean to count their overtime, just when they were late. Wait, so they had to clock in and clock out, but that time wasn't used to calculate their pay? When I just started out working, I had to log timesheets in the system. I asked how I was to check if those were correct, and my boss told me there is no clock. Nor will there ever be one. If you don't trust your employees, you shouldn't have hired them. And people taking advantage would reveal themselves if management is doing its job right. I've taken that with me for the rest of my career. I remember a single instance where someone was always 15 to 20 minutes late but lied on his timesheet as being on time. That same boss went to the floor and told a lame joke about 3 kids bragging about their dads' new cars. Little Johnny says his dad just got a new BMW and it takes him only 15 minutes to get to work where it normally takes 20 minutes. That's nothing, says Jimmy. My dad has a Porsche and he does it in 10. Little employee's name rolls his eyes and says, my dad has an employee's car, and he leave home at 9:15 and arrives at 9. The guy never messed with the timesheets again. And sure, it might not be doable in large companies, but still, respect and trust your employees. To save a penny, it cost $1. See, ever since I was 14 and worked my first clock-in clock-out job, and my mentor said this to me. If you are early to every shift, you will always be on time. If you arrive on time for your shift, you are already late and will spend the entire day dealing with delays and issues. Come 15 minutes early and prepare yourself for your shift. So when you clock in, you start working. Worked great until I had employers who insisted I clock in when I arrived, but would be furious they have to pay overtime by following their rules. I was only ever late for shifts when car accidents or really long freight trains would break down in such a way that I couldn't get around. I aim to be 20 minutes early, but usually 15 for every shift, for every class, for every appointment. I am early. My husband can't manage time for anything. Super frustrating to me. Would have been great if you went into the meeting and said, I checked all the clock-ins. You were right. They weren't getting paid for OT, so I went ahead and fixed it. Yay, I mean it's wage theft if they are not paying worked hours. Making sure their staff is paid accordingly definitely backfired on them indeed. But hey, at least they found out that they owed them back pay and all. Everybody reading this. This is how you post a story. With proper breaks and paragraphs. Please use paragraphs when posting a story. Thanks op.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.